episode. I'm Paula Williams,
And I'm John Williams.
and we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
To help all you folks in the aviation world sell more of your products and services.
absolutely. And this week, we are talking about the AI marketing canvas. This is my Kindle version. Actually, I did not order enough of the paper copies to get them out to everybody in time, and so I don't usually use the Kindle version, but I'm glad I did this time because this is a very Kindle friendly book. We've all been curious about AI, and what it's going to change about marketing, especially in sales, and what our competitors are doing, and how we need to be changing over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And it's always been kind of one of those things that we're thinking about, but we haven't really done anything, or we think we haven't done anything, but we've actually done more than we thought. When we look at what our vendors are doing and the software that we use and everything else. So anyway, first impressions, John?
It actually covers quite a bit of stuff in a fairly easily readable thing. Mm-hmm. Having been to AI and deep machine learning class put on by Cray and its affiliates a year or so ago, this made a lot more sense to me than it may to somebody who hasn't been to class. Mm-hmm. But their definitions with respect to machine learning, AI, and deep machine learning, they say deep learning, but it's deep machine learning is the way it's told to you in class, are pretty much right on. Well, they don't discuss some of the more amazing things that deep machine learning can accomplish. Yeah, given things work right, maybe I can elucidate.
Okay. Yeah, we'd love to hear about it, especially if it's relevant to marketing. I know some of the things that you were studying are more concerned with security and other topics. You think about the amount of data that's being generated, and here, there's a really good graphic on it's figure 3 anyway, image 355 if you're following along in the chat. This is what happens in an internet minute, and this was in 2019. I don't know if they've come up with anything more recent than that's as detailed as this graphic. But it is astonishing, and I'm sure it's even more astonishing now since the pandemic, since a lot of things have moved online that weren't before. But you look at 3.8 million Google searches in a minute.
Yep, there's quite a few of them.
Right, and this is the basis for AI. This is the basis for machine learning. This is the basis for all of that, is you have to have a massive amount of data in order to make good decisions. And here's your massive amount of data, right? Mm-hmm. Every one of these things, $996,000 spent online every minute of 2019. And it's more than that now because everybody's ordering things online from Amazon more than they ever did. They're ordering their groceries, they're ordering food, all kinds of things.
But what's interesting as well is, the data's there, mm-hmm. but it's in the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. So that means for you to use it, you have to know how to get to it, how to download it, and then something that you can use to munch the numbers with.
Right. And, at first glance, you go through this. The first time I went through this book, just flipping through it, going, what is here that is relevant to small to medium-sized businesses in the aviation industry? And the first glance is not much because, we aren't Google, we're not Netflix, we're not Tinder, we're not, any of those things. We can't afford millions of dollars in software in order to take advantage of this. But then I went through it with a little bit more critical eye and said, we don't have to do that because a lot of these companies, like the very first story they tell in the introduction is about the Washington Post and how they created the software to decide what stories to serve people based on the algorithm of, what they click on. And so, of course, the Washington Post is owned by Amazon, the masters of data. And Jeff Bezos, I mean, what is he going to do with that? He's going to sell that. He's going to sell that software, or he's going to sell subscriptions to that software. So now every small town newspaper has access to that same data by using a subscription service, using the same software that the Washington Post developed for themselves. So that same business model impacts us as small aviation companies. We're using Lead Feeder. We're using a lot of these analytics tools. We're using Google Analytics. We're using all of the ancillary things to that. We're using SEMrush. That gives us insight into this data, and even if you can't afford your own subscription, through the marketing lab, we're kind of parsing that out to make it more affordable to individual companies and helping them learn how to use it.
And hopefully one of these days we'll get to where we can have some algorithms they can use.
Right, exactly. So that's where the data is coming from. And the question is, how do we use it? And the answer is, we already are. We don't have to buy a Cray computer in order to parse this data. We just have to buy a subscription to something that does that for us.
I'm going to do a little bit of reading here, which I typically hate when people do, and I don't like it when I do it, but there's a lot, and I want to make sure it's accurate with respect to this book.
Mm-hmm.
And they define machine learning as occurring when a data set is loaded into a machine, which then processes it by applying one or more computer algorithms to arrive at a series of predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Then it defines a computer algorithm, which everybody knows what that is. Then an algorithm needs to be preceded by qualifiers such as search, classification, etc. And then they tell you that only rarely in machine learning is a single algorithm used. Typically, several are deployed in a certain sequence and at lightning speed. Yeah. And then the book goes on to say, to keep it simple, we'll talk about them as the one unit. So anyway, and when I took the course in San Jose, the thing, they tried to separate AI and machine learning and deep machine learning, but when they taught us to program this crap. And
so you know more than the rest of us. We just use it. We just flip the levers and Google ads. And
I'm not sure I know more than the rest of us. I have seen it. I have used it. And in fact, to that end, Getty Images will not accept photos or pictures or whatever images that have been created via AI.
Yeah. And did you see this thing about how an AI piece of art, this is Jason Allen, who won a art prize in the Colorado State Fair. They found out that the art that he produced was completely AI generated. And then they were all upset, but they figured out, he didn't violate any of the rules.
Right, as they were, but I'm sure they changed them.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and you use things like Canva and other graphics tools and things like that. You don't have to be an artist anymore to, the quality of visual advertising that we're seeing on the web is so much better than it used to be. And part of that is those programs and those algorithms that really help you figure out. You just type in a few things like, I want a template for this or that or the other thing. And Canva or, some of the templates we create and other things will come up in the search results. You start with that and you're not starting from scratch. So, all right. So the next page that really caught my attention was the stages, the 5-stage model.
Just hang on just for a second.
Okay.
There's a couple of things that, with respect to machine learning, people need to realize they've experienced it. If you let Google complete your sentences while writing an email in Gmail.
Yeah.
Content algorithm to make better prediction in the next email and so on. So they are using this stuff not exclusively, but a lot.
Right. And we're using assist tools like Grammarly and Copysmith and things like that to say, improve this headline or make 15 variations of this headline and tell me which are most likely to perform the best on any given platform. So that's all AI, that we're using as well. So this 5-stage platform, or this 5-stage plan, I would say that we're probably in stage 2. Stage 1 is foundation, which is basically having a computer, having some subscriptions to software, kind of learning how to use it, those kinds of things. Stage 2 is actually using AI tools from third parties and vendors to get some quick learnings and wins in the customer journey. Lead feeder, um, Google Analytics, Google Ads, all of that is third-party tools and vendors that we're using to get those results. I am not sure how to move from stage 2 to stage 3. Even after having read the book, I don't have a clear path from stage 2 to stage 3, and I don't know that that would be a benefit to us.
Well, in-house capabilities begin to develop. I guess that means me.
Mm-hmm.
We need to.
I guess you're our AI marketing champion. So we've named an AI marketing champion. That's one of the checklist items for stage 3. So congratulations.
But we need to see the things that you and or your team do,
Mm-hmm.
and see if there's a connection that we can put together an algorithm for. I've got what it takes to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to see what that is.
Yeah, and if it's worth it because we don't do very many repetitive tasks. Everything we do is so
Well,
custom
it's
that
not about repetition.
Mm-hmm.
AI takes anything in and provides you a prediction or an output.
Mm-hmm.
Does not have to be an exact replication of the previous task.
Mm-hmm.
That's the genius of it.
Okay. That makes sense.
I don't know if we have, well, it depends. I don't know if we have I don't know if your machine is stout enough to do deep machine learning.
Mm-hmm. But for now, we're good, I think, at stage 2 because we're getting a lot of those quick wins and results that we want.
But I think going to stage 3 would be pretty straightforward once you specifically define those marketing activities and we see what's involved in each one.
Right. And we need to start being able to do that for clients as well. So that's cool.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, this is Philip Kotler, and Professor Valdemar, who we talked to last month about the H2H learning, talking about, and I'm really happy that we did these books back to back, and I'm really happy that we had Professor Valdemar come on because he did a really good job of explaining how this works, and this is where AI will take you up one step. Because if you wanted to do the kind of H2H marketing that we talked about, you don't have time. You don't have time to research every single prospect and we actually do this when we do a top 10 marketing plan for someone that does large transactions with, but very few of them. We actually create a separate approach plan, use separate tools, figure out, are they on LinkedIn? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? Would it be better to send them a garbage can, from Home Depot with our letter saying, go ahead and throw this away? Do they have that kind of sense of humor? Should we be doing direct mail? All of those questions that we have to figure out in order to make the most impactful approach to a particular customer. We don't have time to figure that out for every single person if we're doing any kind of volume, right?
Exactly. And as a side note, if you are looking at this and didn't view the podcast that she's talking about with Professor, what was his name?
Baltimore Forch.
Yeah. Then you need to go back to our previous one and look at that, because then you can put that one together as a basis for this one.
Right. Because people are expecting that level of service nowadays. If you get spam, you delete it, or you have your software delete it, even better, so that you never see it. This mass marketing stuff at the bottom of this diagram is not going to work anymore. That started in 1941. And people expect things to be super relevant to them, or they don't pay any attention at all. And that's social media, that's email, that's broadcast advertising, that's everything.
Webinars included. Yep.
Yeah. So then, the next step up is segmented marketing. The next step up is data-driven marketing. And then the next step up is one-to-one personalized marketing. So I think we need AI in order to get even to that third stage or that wave two that he's talking about here.
Oh yeah,
And
that's where it works its best, is the data input
mm-hmm.
along with instructions, and let it go.
Right. The segmentation we used to do by hand. We used to say, let's go through and find all of the brokers in our mailing list. And, we do that, and we do that with tags and things. But now we can have somebody else or some software figure that out for us. In fact, I just got, it's my first day using the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I didn't think I needed it until recently and decided, you know what? There's some cool stuff in here. So that really takes it up a notch to that data-driven marketing and that one-to-one personalized marketing, because it facilitates that process so that I'm not overwhelmed with data and I have time to actually move up the staircase here.
And there's a lot of AI out there for sale, but
mm-hmm.
a lot of it, they will tell you have to you have to get into it. You can't just take it off the shelf and plop it in there and hit the run button.
Yeah.
So we keep researching it. When we find something that we think will work for folks, we'll test it first, like we always do, and then let you know what we found out about which one.
Right. And then we change our tool stack every year for the marketing lab.
Right.
This last year we added some tools, and of course, Lead Feeder changed a lot of things this year. It's almost unrecognizable software from where it was last year. Same thing with SEMrush. So a lot of our vendors are doing this for us, but when they don't, we're studying that to make it work.
So, as a sidebar, let's talk about deep learning definition, or definition, for a moment. Again, a little bit of reading. So if you've ever asked Siri or Alexa to make a phone call for you, or Google's language translation app, you've experienced deep learning in action. Now, the definition is the application of machine learning's neural networks to complex problems, allowing the machine to learn from its mistakes and to assess its own probability of reaching a correct result, or in other words, developing its own intuition. And that's what we programmed when I was in San Jose. Mm-hmm. You weighted all the questions and answers and everything. You assigned it a weight. Mm-hmm. And they told us how to, there was weight, by assigning it weight, the probability. Mm-hmm. Is basically what you did. And sometimes you would want to do a lower probability, sometimes a higher probability based on criteria that they discussed in the class. And it's just amazing to watch it. And the reason that stuff runs on Cray is because when it runs, it makes mistakes and corrects it, and makes mistakes and does corrections, and it does them thousands and millions of times before you come out with a result, which is why you need the higher horsepower machines for it.
Exactly. And we all have higher horsepower, everything. I mean, even our phones are more than what Apollo 13 had.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about some heavy stuff. Mm-hmm. Your machine's got 36 CPUs in it, and it would slow to a crawl using some of this stuff.
Right. Okay. Last slide we're going to talk about in this conversation is an example of how you can realize a benefit from this, because everybody's going, okay, well, this is all fantastic, but what do I do with it? And how does it actually work for me? Or how does it save me money? And this is an example. This is image 354, Starbucks advertising spending 2011 to 2019. Now, if you look at, they have another chart that I'm not including here, and that is Starbucks revenues, and that is just a straight up boom off the charts, I mean, a ski slope kind of a situation where, or a ski jump kind of a situation where it goes up like this. Um, their
Well,
advertising spending actually started dropping off in 2017. And the reason is because they developed some software that kept track of how do we get the most profitable customers coming back all the time. And that was their rewards program, their loyalty program, the app on your phone where you can order your drinks and go pick them up. And that saved so much time on the part of their baristas and saved so much in terms of wasted materials and ingredients and things like that. That their profitability kept going up, even though they slowed down their ad spend. So one of the questions that people ask us, especially when they start working with us and they're not really all that familiar with sales or marketing, how long do I have to keep doing this? I mean, how long do I have to keep spending money on advertising? And the answer is forever, but the better answer is you're going to get more efficient with it and you're going to figure out which things work, which things don't. And as you go forward, if you look at 10 years of data here, you can see what are the most profitable things that we're doing and how can we spend less and keep making the same revenue or make more revenue.
there's a better approach to that is this
Mm-hmm.
is pretty high level.
Yeah.
If you're doing it yourself, you'll have a lot better granularity and you will, you may need to spend the same amount, maybe a little less,
Mm-hmm.
but you will change what you spend it on.
Yeah.
And then as that increases your revenue stream, then you can back off some of that stuff and see if it takes off on its own, and then it's a series of just watching it.
Yeah.
But you got to have your thumb on the button just to make sure, because if you wait too long to put the money back in, you're going to be behind the power curve.
Exactly. And if you figure, transactions in the aviation industry are 8 months in the future, this is great when you're looking at 10 years of data. This is not great when you're looking at a month of data.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't tell you anything, and you can really injure yourself if you stop spending money on something that it doesn't look like it's working after a month. If you look
Yeah,
at 3 months, 6 months, a year, then that's a much better pool of data to be making decisions on. And AI, of course, will help you make better ones. So that's a good thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Was,
let's pull up the
I've
last
had
graphic just because it's cool. And this one's 357. This is about where do you start with your business model? Where do you apply AI first? And they suggest, starting with your value proposition. And then from there, some of the things that are really have a lot of proximity are how do you reach your customers? What do you need? What resources do you need? How do you buy from vendors? What will it cost? And what is your revenue stream? So, those are the things that are the most central to your business. It's really easy, and this drives me crazy, right? People jump into marketing, and the first thing they do is get a Google Ads account. Before they even have their website together, before they have any of the rest of the foundation set up. And, so then they're spending a ton of money and we don't really know, we're not capturing really good data about where it's going or where it's coming from. And, people are calling them and they're getting a voicemail that's broken. And, they have a lot of things in their business that are not ready for that yet. And this is the same thing with AI. You buy a tool and you start using it because it's shiny and cool.
So I may be speaking out of turn here. If so, you can delete it.
That's okay. Go ahead.
But it seems to me like when I look at this graphic you have here,
Mm-hmm.
that we would be doing people a favor if we overlaid the different things we offer onto that to help them decide where they want to start, and then we can direct them from there.
Right. And that's true whether it's AI or any other tool.
Right. But
There's
There's
nothing
pieces of
magical.
AI,
Yeah.
but we have pieces and parts that use AI,
Hmm.
and we can help them get it started with that. And once we figure out how to make that a conglomerate with a
Hmm.
single entry point on AI, then they're already set up.
That's true. Good point. We should maybe put something together like that and do another podcast. So that would be clever. I'll let you figure out the diagram.
Well, thanks. I mean,
You had the fabulous idea. Let's let you run with it. That's cool.
well, I just now saw this and it just hit me that that'd be a logical thing to do. That way we can help more people easier.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. Okay. Any last thoughts on the book?
That was the last thought.
That was your last thought. Okay. Cool. I think my last thought on the book is I think a lot of people feel that AI is, it's just like the internet 10 years ago. People think way too much or way too little of it. Any new technology, people think, well, this is the answer to all my prayers, or this has no relevance to me. And they don't have any middle ground on it because they just don't have the patience for it. And I think we're exactly there where we were 10 years ago with the internet, and we're going to have the same kind of learning curve, hopefully faster, with this as we did with like social media. We talked to aviation companies about social media 10 years ago, and they're all going, what? That's for 13-year-old girls. That's not for aviation companies.
Yeah, we were 10 years ahead of our time, and with AI, we may be a year or two ahead of it now, but if so, we need to jump in and make it happen.
Yeah, and it'll happen faster this time because people know, you got to get on the bandwagon or get left behind. So cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. And I think that's a wrap for the book club.